Come with me into a magical realm, the realm of the last video store, a place that has every single freaking movie sitting upon its shelves, and I am the guru that sits at the counter to guide you across and through them. My name is Alexi Toliopoulos, and it is my pleasure to welcome you into the last video store. I mean, this is crazy. This is a freaking crazy episode. This is with Keith freaking Urban, one of the greatest storytellers in the realm of country music. Huge superstar, very funny guy. This guy, he's funnier than I am. He's way funnier than me. So we're so excited to have Keith Urban in the last video store. I mean, what a surprise, what a shock. I'm playing it as nonchalant as I can, but let me tell you, I'm quivering this whole episode. I'm quivering. I'm a quiver right now. I'm a quiver of myself. So we are in the last video store with Keith Urban. His new album, High, comes out on the 20th of September. Get it into your ears. Get that new school Keith Urban feeling across ya. And we're going to get into some of his favorite films on this show right now. We're going to talk about a new release film, 2 all-time favorites from the weekly section, and then I'm going to give him a bespoke, customized recommendation based on his taste. And if you want to be like Keith and get your own bespoke, customized recommendation from me, all you need to do is give us a review on Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, please, or on Spotify. DM us on Instagram at lastvideostore. Get in contact with us with your combo, and I'll give you a recommendation. Producer Emmeline, stacking the shelves, take a break. Tell me one of our latest reviews, and I'll give a recommendation off the dome right now.
This one is from Jonathan. Hey, Alexi, devout return shoot rat here.
Wow, thank you, Jonathan.
Been absolutely loving the pod and really enjoyed the kneecap episode today.
Wow, we've dated when this episode was sent in. How dare us.
Hoping I can get a custom staff pick and maybe one of those double passes you mentioned, since my partner loves all things island and it would make a great date night.
Let the record show, I think we sent him a double pass. I think we did.
We'll make sure he does. He gets it. And anyway, here's my rental combo. Overnight is After Sun 2022.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful film. Yes.
His weeklies, Beau Travail from 1999.
Claire Denis herself directed one of the great films.
And Drive from 2011.
Wow, the Gosling himself. One of the great jackets. One of the great jackets in that movie. Quilted and satin. And then I'm going to give him a recommendation. Wow, great picks. I'm going to jump off After Sun, father and daughter story. I'm going to go Leave No Trace, the year's 2018 when that came out. Deborah Granick, the filmmaker, she made Winter's Bone as well. Great recommendation, put that in there too. But Leave No Trace, just like a great kind of strange existence, really unique father and daughter story. Stars Thomasin McKenzie from Jojo Rabbit and Ben Foster, one of the great like modern character actor weirdos. Love those two together. Great film. Emmeline, recommendation for you as well. Pop that one in your own little take-home box from today's episode.
Thanks, Alexi.
And hopefully, I mean, if we didn't give you those kneecap double passes, you got shouted out on the freaking Keith Urban episode, Jonathan. So, you know, it's a privilege. All right, let's get into it.
The last video store.
Well, Keith Urban, thank you for joining me inside the last video store.
I can't believe it's the last video store. Surely not.
Surely not. Maybe there's a
not.
few outliers out there still.
Yeah.
But we're the last one that has every single freaking movie on our shelves here.
Right.
But we're sending you almost back in time. It's kind of liminal, ethereal space here.
Yeah, it is.
It's freaky.
I need a Be Kind Rewind shirt or something, don't I? Except you're all Blu-ray, so
Yeah,
not
exactly.
Not much rewinding going
Well, here
on.
we got every format, and you can rewind a Blu-ray. We'll allow you to
There you
do
go.
it. We'll allow you to do it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you while you're in here, because I've been getting into country music myself. They say as you get older, you either get into jazz music or you get into country music. I've been a jazz guy my whole life.
Right.
Now I'm on the journey, that dusty road of country music. And I want to ask you about country music. It feels very cinematic because it's the genre of storytelling for me. And it's both like literal and poetic, and that's what I find like I'm being drawn into. Can I ask you about the role of being a storyteller in country music? Your role as a storyteller?
I mean, well, first of all, country is a lot of things.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's the first thing, you know.
I stand corrected.
No, but it's a fair thing. I think
Yeah.
countries, that's kind of its struggle has been perceived as a particular thing that I think that's why it's so popular now around the world is everybody's sort of finding the genre because there's a whole sort of renewed energy into the genre, which is great. And it isn't just necessarily deep poetic stuff, it's also just mindless Friday night stuff as well. So it's super relatable.
And it's kind of playing with those both those areas, the literal and the poetic.
Yeah.
I think one of your songs on your album, Messed Up As Me, is one that I'm quite drawn to because it doesn't feel like your other music. It feels like new school Keith Urban or something I'm finding.
Thank you.
Can you tell me about like your role as like a vessel? Because it's not a song that you wrote, right?
No.
How do you kind of find yourself as the performer and the storyteller sharing that story?
I mean, it's got to be, if I hear a song that I didn't write, it just grab me, you know. I think it's like anybody listening to a song for the first time, never heard it. The song either grabs you or it doesn't. And for me, it's got to grab me in a way that I got to know the person in the song.
And how did you find the person in that song for yourself?
How do I?
How did you find that person in the song? Or how did you know that person?
How did I make it out of being that guy in the song, I think is more the question. That's more of the journey. Being in the song was easy. That guy is easy. I've been a lot of people, you know. So this album covers a lot of people I've been, not just who I am right now. But I mean, I'm the sum of all my experience, like all of us are.
Yeah, me included. I've had a few experiences in my life too, and they've shaped me.
Yes, for better and worse.
Yeah, mostly worse. You know, I am trapped at video store clerk out. Well, I'm over 100 years old in this store now.
Really?
Well, not really, but it feels like it sometimes.
Right, in video store clerk years.
In video store clerk years, I'm the most ancient that there is.
There you go.
But, you know, with it comes a lot of wisdom.
But in dog years, you're a puppy.
Yeah, let it be known I'm a puppy. I'm a puppy. I'm a husky.
That's your dog. That's your breed of choice.
Well, you know, I was called Husky growing up, so I thought, I guess that must be it.
Are you seriously?
Well, you know, I'm one of the few guys that's like late in life still has all their puppy fat attached to them.
Husky. That was your nickname growing
Sometimes.
up? That's awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Well, hey, before I send you out into the store to make your choices to pick up some of your favorite movies and bring them back to me, I want to ask you, you're here in the last video store. Is it awakening any memories for you, being taken back to a certain time in your life?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't remember the last time I was in a video store. Certainly one at Batuta. That's got to be a first for sure.
Yeah. The first and last in Batuta.
I love video. I used to love video stores.
Yeah?
I used to love it, yeah. Especially when they started selling the popcorn and all the lollies and everything at the same time. It was just with the whole cinema experience, but you could have it at home.
Exactly. And we've got a few stale bags of popcorn to take home with you as well today.
Great.
Nice, crunchy, and weirdly soft.
Weirdly soft. That's the brand name.
Yeah,
Crunchy and weirdly soft.
Of course, that's
Yeah.
it. The kernel stay crunchy forever, but the husk, that goes soft in
There
that
you
stale
go.
bag.
There you go.
Well, we're going to send you out to the store. Come on back with your choices.
Okay.
You got a new release, you got 2 weeklies, and then it shall be my honor, Keith, to bestow upon you a staff pick recommendation.
Ooh.
A customized choice bespoke to your taste. And also I'm going to use some of that empathy that you were talking about before. I'm going to read into your soul and try to find you, I think, a movie that should speak to you.
So you're sort of a husky AI.
Husky AI, yeah. Hey, that's the new nickname for me. Husky AI Mark 2.0.
Like it.
Oh my dear Lord, oh my stars, oh my heavens. You have got one of the most stunning stacks of flicks that we've ever seen across this table, dear sir. Let me
Such
tell
a
you
liar.
that.
I love you.
No, well, thank you. I love you too. That's the first time we've exchanged those words together, but I mean it. But this is truly one of the great stacks of flicks we've ever had. These are films that mean a deeply amount to me. Maybe not as much to you, but deeply amount to me. I'm desperate to get into this one on the top of the stack.
Yeah.
One of the great picks right now.
Yep.
Let's get into, from director, one of my favorites, Brian Trenchard Smith, BMX Bandits.
Legendary.
Adventure.
Legendary
I mean,
film.
talk about plot points.
Talk about plot points indeed. A briefcase full of walkie-talkies and a few kids that find them and have to unlock one of the greatest adventures ever seen in Manly and the northern beaches of Australia.
Terrorizing Manly on their BMX bikes.
You tell me about this flick. I mean, obviously there's a connection here, but when did it first come into your life?
I had to pick I had to pick a film that Nick was in.
Of course.
And I just had to go with BMX Bandits because it's just so entertaining.
Yeah.
It's entertaining. If you can just go on the ride with it, it's riveting. It's
Hop
so
on the
fun.
spokes of that back of the BMX yourself.
Totally. Just be that little car that flicks in the back of the BMX wheels. It's so stupid and doofus and fun, and I've seen this movie maybe half a dozen times.
Have you shown your kids this
Much to
film?
my wife's chagrin. I think she's embarrassed by it. But,
Have you shown the kids this film?
oh yeah, they've seen it.
Oh, how do they feel about it?
Well, for some reason, they don't want to become BMX riders, but apart from that,
That's so good. I would say this, Brian Trenchard Smith, he is one of my absolute favorite filmmakers.
are you serious?
Truly. I think is the greatest genre filmmaker in Australian history. And it's not just me who says that. One of the other great video store clerks in the world, Mr. Quentin Tarantino, says Brian Trenchard Smith is his favorite filmmaker.
Really?
And this film in particular, he calls out, he says that if you grew up in Australia, this would be your Goonies.
Yeah,
and he
there you
says
go.
it's even better than Goonies.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's weird that he says that because when both of these films were released, he was in his 20s. So I don't know where he's pulling that from.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think he's right, don't you?
I think so. Yeah.
And I'd say with this, Brian Trenchard Smith, like what he does so well with genre is he uses it as this tool of communication, like this means of storytelling to communicate to big audiences in a language that they understand, which is genre pictures. And this kind of takes like a bit of thriller, takes a lot of that kind of kid adventure to communicate to young people, I think is what he does so successfully.
Yep.
And beyond anything, this is, I gotta tell the audience out there listening and watching, BMX Bandits is one of the best looking movies ever shot in Australia.
It is.
It is got these bright bursting colors. It looks like a Ken Doan movie come to life.
Yep.
And it's shot by one of the great masters of cinematic language, John Seale, who probably best known for like the Harry Potter films. He also did.
I knew none of this. This is you're blowing my mind right now.
I'm unlocking the egg that is my head
I love
and
it.
spilling the cinematic yolk all over you right now.
Wow.
And
You've
so
just tuned in. I hope you have context for that.
And if not, I pray that you never do. I pray that you never gain
It's more
it.
fun if you don't. Yeah.
We're yoking it up here right now. But John Seale, he did also Dead Poet Society, stuff like that. So these
Amazing.
really bright, vibrant films. I think the eye he brings to this, it kind of makes it feel like this cartoon come to life.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah. Can I ask you, what do you think about the young Nicole in this movie?
She's fantastic in it. And one of the things I've always loved about Nick's acting skill or gift is when she says nothing, that she has an amazing way to convey what's going on inside her head with saying nothing. I think better than any actor I've ever seen. You can tell everything that she's thinking just by her eyes. She's extraordinary. And there's a couple of scenes in here where that's happening. And she's just, you can tell she's one of the greats.
And I'll tell you this. I interviewed Brian Trenchard Smith last year, but I found the quotes of him talking about working with Nicole. If you would humor me to read them.
Oh, I'd love to.
So
Love
these
to
are
hear
his
those.
thoughts. I think like he's 77 years old. He still like went straight away. He said, I immediately knew at the audition that Nicole was a natural. She just had a natural way of making clunky dialogue less clunky. And when she had some good dialogue, she had great timing and she just knew where to put the emphasis, which part of the sentence, etc. And that was just very natural and unpretentious, but also I could tell quite ambitious. And I thought this was going to be an interesting combination. And as the film progressed from really day one, when the script had really written her as this tag-along girl, I thought, no way, I'm going to change this. I know she's 3 inches taller than all the boys, as the producers kept pointing out to me, but she's taller than the guys. Who cares? The audience is going to freaking love her.
Yeah.
And I think he's right. Like the way they kind of write this character or continue to develop this character around her, she's like so assertive. So it's just one of those great like youthful teen performances that, of course, I mean, the guy's right. It unlocks like one of the greatest cinematic film careers an actor has ever had. And I've said that before. I would say it not in your present. I'll swear my hand on any of these films right now that I truly, one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yeah.
Pass it on.
Yep, I will. I'll let her know that. And I think this was a precursor to Dead Calm.
Yeah.
And that film particularly that to me was the ground zero for her. I mean, she did Bush Christmas before this and other things, but I think Dead Calm was ground zero. But it wouldn't have been possible without BMX Bandits.
It could not at all. Could not at all. Have you ever explored any further stuff of like Brian Trenchard Smith?
No.
Well, I think what he does really well is like that ideal genre filmmaking that we spoke about. But he does like so many cool things of like exploring like action films. He did this great film called Man from Hong Kong that might slip into your box as well. I think you might.
Definitely would like
think
to
you
see
might
more.
enjoy that one.
Yeah.
But let us go to our next film. You've got another Australian classic, maybe the Australian classic, The Castle.
The Castle.
Comedy.
And this one is Blu-ray, so it says re-stumped for
Re-stumped
Blu-ray,
on
which
Blu-ray,
I
yeah.
have no clue what that means. But there you
And
have
not
it.
the film that you would expect to have a Blu-ray release at all. You don't think about the castle in high definition.
But I mean, there's a reason why this is such an iconic, legendary Aussie film, and also it's sort of a must-see for anybody who wants to sort of understand Aussieism in some of its sort of original form. I think the humour, the accents, the cadence, the conversations. Wayne dug a hole. Wayne dug a hole. It's fantastic in the pool room. I mean, so many famous quotes that we just rattle off now come from this thing. As a matter of fact, one of my favorite character in this thing, my pseudonym check-in for a few years in America was Dennis Denudo.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an exclusive.
And it cracked me up. I don't use it anymore. So, but it cracked me up because, I'd been at some hotel in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they'd go, "Good morning, Mr. Denudo. Should I call you Dennis or Mr. Denudo?" I'd just be rolling on the floor. They have no idea what's going on.
You can't use that in Australia. People clock onto it straight away. You can't be going to Tamworth, logging in after Dennis Denudo.
That's right.
But in the States, it's as good as anonymous, I'd say.
Totally legit name.
Do you ever show this to people in the States? Have you ever shared this one? Because it's so specifically Australian.
Yes.
How do people react to it?
Everybody I've played, like my band has seen it. They love it.
You've indoctrinated them.
Yeah, and it's a good litmus test. It's like, if you get this film, you can stay in my band, and if you don't get this film, I'm not sure that we're going to last long.
I think they probably even pass for Australian citizenship after this. I think that's
so.
the whole test must be based on this film.
Yeah.
Do you know anything about this being translated to American audiences?
As in doing another one, or you mean if they would get it at all?
They tried to. I mean, it did extremely well in Australia. Like this film, caught on pretty quickly. It held its own, against a re-release of Empire Strikes Back when it comes out. It was beating it per capita, per screen. But then because it was picking up so much buzz, they tried selling it overseas to be, re-shown and stuff to travel the world.
Right.
When they take it to America, they try to translate it for American audiences. So all of the specific things they had to start changing and redubbing them in ADR.
Oh, no.
So they changed Rissole to Meatloaf.
Right.
Bizarre. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense. It's a bit of a direct comparison. But what do you think? This is a little trivia question for you.
Yeah.
What do you think they had to change Hey Hey It's Saturday to?
The title, you mean?
Yeah, they had to change. They redubbed Hey Hey It's Saturday to something else. For American audiences.
That's if they change Rissole, I have no clue. What?
They had to change to America's Funniest Home Videos. Wow. So they could just have an idea. Because I think it would probably melt every other person on the planet's mind to just go, yeah, we got to tell you about this guy called Daryl. We got to tell you about Plug a Duck.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to lose. The whole movie becomes a tangent and digression to going, yeah, Plug a Duck was the most famous guy in Australia in the 1990s. He used to pluck ducks and he was a big duck. So...
Yeah.
But, that's it. And it still didn't work. It made almost no money in America.
It wouldn't have.
No.
It's not Crocodile Dundee.
Not
right?
quite. Not
it's not even
quite.
Kenny. But it's so Aussie, quintessential.
Do you ever watch this when you're feeling homesick or anything?
When I was flying in, even though I was coming here,
Wow.
I was on Qantas, and it says, you're looking up the movies, and it's got Australian, and then it's got classic Australian. I'm like, oh, please let it be. I would have watched it again if it wasn't on there.
Wow, now that's a great marketing campaign for both The Castle on Blu-ray and I'd say Qantas.
Yep.
I'd say this is better than We Still Call Australia Home. It's just Keith Urban watching The Castle and the flight landing in.
Yep.
And I want $1 million for putting that up as the idea. Qantas, if you're listening to this, I want the millions. I want them.
That's right.
All right, we're going to go to a new release film right now.
Okay.
New release.
And this is a film I've been dying to freaking talk about on this show.
Oh, great.
Because I think it's one of the best films in the last few years by
Me
one
too.
of the true master filmmakers.
Yes.
let's talk about.
And it's heartbreaking that it didn't win.
Yeah.
It should have won Movie of the Year. In my opinion, it should have
Yeah.
won the Oscar for Film of the Year. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Drama.
I just think it's an amazing story. The acting is just stunning. And the girl who played the Native American, I
Lily
can't think of her
Gladstone.
name. Lily.
Yeah, Lily
Yes.
Gladstone.
Incredible performance.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you were performing with Leo and De Niro, and you're more than holding your own. It was extraordinary.
And so beautifully done. Kind of like, I guess, what you were saying about Nicole before, like, on the Miss Kidman. Sorry, I have not met her, so I say Miss
her
Kidman.
Nick.
Oh, thank you very much. I'll allow myself now. With Nick, my dearest mate, when you talk about communicating without dialogue and like
Yeah.
that, and that is such a silent performance where it's just all the empathy comes from it. And I think this film, what it really struck me as this, Scorsese makes great films about masculinity and exploring the darkness of masculinity. I think this film works so good, kind of like another great true crime film, the original In Cold Blood, in exploring like true evil and like how evil permeates through people and how people are capable of committing evil,
Yes.
even though they know it is.
Yes.
And I think it just is such an incisive look into exactly that.
Oh, De Niro's character is just pure psychopath.
Pure.
Yeah.
Pure. And
Yeah,
he
it's
plays it
terrifying.
like a nice grandpa. It's like, what a
It's chilling.
genius
It's
move.
chilling, yeah.
The thing that really draws me into this film is the score. I think is one of the best film scores in decades.
Yep.
Made by one of my favorite musicians, Robbie Robertson,
Yep.
longtime collaborator and friend of Martin Scorsese.
Yep, sure
and we've
is.
also got a copy of The Last Waltz, one of their films that they
Yeah, that was
made together.
Scorsese too, right?
And I think what really strikes me about it, there's like this gentle hold of his score on this film. Can you talk to me about like how that works sonically for you when you're watching the film?
Yeah, and I think Robbie, he has some native in him
Yeah,
as well.
he's
Canadian, I think,
Indigenous
right?
Canadian.
Indigenous
I think
Canadian?
Mohawk is where he's
Yeah, I wasn't
like
sure
he's
what
from. His
creed it
lineage
was
from
or
us.
whatever you would
Yeah.
say it. But that gave him such a great connection to how to frame this story with music. It's really beautiful, and I think you're right. I think it's underrated. The power of the right score, and in the case of this, it was profound.
And Scorsese talked about like this thing of how Robbie, you know, he's got this background. He's in the band, for those that don't know, which is like the exact intersection of rock, country, and folk at like a time where they're kind of intermingling with each other. And he starts doing scores for Scorsese. The other ones he's done Gangs of New York. He did music for Raging Bull, King of Comedy.
Oh, I didn't know he did Raging Bull.
Yeah, and
Wow.
The Irishman most recently as
Right,
well. Like
yeah.
beautiful. All these great films before he passed away in these collaborations with Scorsese. And what Scorsese says he does is because he's got this background in that exact same kind of music that is all about storytelling. It just naturally translates to film. Like he was was like a freaking duck to water, slid right in
Yep.
and starts translating those same feelings to film.
That's interesting. I haven't thought about that. The intermingling of genres is what's happening in the story of Killers of the Flower Moon. Same thing. You've got these cultures all merging, you know, for better and worse.
Yeah.
Some of it works. Some of it's a bit agenda fueled. It's interesting bringing all those genres into that as well.
Yeah, because it's like part Western, biographical, true crime. And I think that true crime moment where it fully embraces it in those like final moments of the film, there's like, it becomes like, I think the most beautiful statement of Martin Scorsese's like artistic career when he goes, we're going to talk to you now very directly about the storytelling that we're doing. And it becomes like this live true crime radio show, like old school era radio play where they're performing with him and Jack White on stage performing it. And Martin Scorsese is the one that comes out basically out of
right.
character in a modern day dress, directly speaking to the audience. And when that happened, I felt so moved at how pure that statement was.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This is, when I saw you bring this one out, and it's very rare. This is the only physical copy of this film was the one that we have in the store.
Oh, wow.
Oh, because digital, it's one of those digital movies.
Yeah.
One of those digital movies. And so the way that we have these, it's almost like a factual, like physical artifact when we have those.
Right.
It's just a stone. It's a stone is what I'm picturing here when we're translating those digital movies to the physical world. It's a stone. You touch a stone and the movie immediately plays behind your eyelids.
There you go.
So that's a new technology that we're working here.
I like this.
At the last video. So we're trying to break new ground.
Yeah,
here.
yeah. Unbelievable.
We're doing our best. We're doing our best.
Incredible.
Do you have any other thoughts, anything that you want to talk about when Killers of the Flower Moon?
No, I love the way I felt when I left the film. I felt emotionally hit. And I remember I was quite quiet leaving the theatre. And it's very hard for movies to have that sort of emotional effect on me. The courage that he takes on storytelling with is always remarkable with Marty, and that one especially. That's a hard sell.
Yeah,
you know, you're playing it to audiences that are the guilty ones in so many, or connected to the lineage of, and you have to look at yourself and your history and our history. That's just beautiful filmmaking.
Yeah,
and for him to want to take that on, it's really important. You know, he's not just he's saying something. You know, because who knows how long he's going to get to make movies for. And he wants to say, he's always said something, but he's really taking on something with that film. It was heartbreaking to me that it didn't win.
Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there, because the film exists, the performances exist, the story exists.
And we'll still do a writing campaign to change it.
Yes.
That's what Keith and I are here to do. We're doing a writing campaign to change it so Killer of the Flower Moon won the Oscar for Best Picture.
Well, at the very least, we can keep word of mouth strong for this piece of art.
I think so. And I just jumping off that thing that you said of like taking on the responsibility of telling that story, I think that one of the key things is in literally him going, I'm the one that's taken on the responsibility of telling the story, by him doing it, because, you know, he's not Osage. Like, he's not from that culture. He's telling it from an outsider perspective through collaboration with Osage people, and bringing their story to life. I think there's incredible responsibility in doing that, like you said. And I think he takes on that burden physically as himself in those final moments of the film. That's what I think that statement does most powerfully. And I find it so interesting. I mean, weirdly, I think we're probably going to get to my staff pick recommendation for you in kind of, I think, the most perfect way.
Staff pick.
I'm going to recommend to you a movie that is by a filmmaker that does a lot of like First Nations collaborations. Australian filmmaker. Do you know Rolf de Heer, Australian filmmaker?
No, I don't.
He's I think one of the great collaborative filmmakers. Like, he's very deep and thoughtful when it comes to collaboration. Probably best known for 10 Canoes. Oh yeah, he directed that or co-directed that film, and he collaborated with David Gulpilil, the great Australian actor. On The Tracker as well, and also on Charlie's Country, which was kind of like an opus for both of them. I'm going to give you all of these. Your stack is getting higher by the seconds.
Good.
But these are all going to be in your stack for you. But what he talked to me last year as well about like being a conduit and being like, that is the way that he kind of expresses, like being the conduit into which people that do not have the means to tell their stories can tell their stories. And I think that was such a beautiful way that he framed it, of being able to talk about telling First Nation stories from his perspective, but also allowing their perspective to come alive on screen. The film I'm going to recommend you is one of his earliest films. And it's a film that kind of, I would say, like the work of Scorsese in Killers of the Flower Moon, he's collaborating with one of the all-time greatest musicians in creating the score and soundtrack for that film. The musician in question is jazz legend Miles Davis. It's one of the very few films that he did a score soundtrack for.
Had no idea Miles ever did a score.
Miles Davis not only does a score, he's the freaking star of the movie.
Really?
This is a movie called Dingo.
Music.
What?
And it's an Australian film.
Why do I not know this?
I think you're going to freaking love this movie.
Come on.
Basically, the premise of this film, out in the desert, Colin Friels plays this young man who's becomes obsessed with jazz music and becoming a great trumpeter because...
I'm so sold already.
Oh my God, I'm feeling the tingle right now. The tingle of a great recommendation has covered my body and all my bones.
Excellent.
And you got a goosebump too. You got a goosebump.
Yes, because it's so up my alley, and I'm shocked that I don't know about this film and haven't seen it. So
Well, I think you'll freaking love this movie. It's like out in the outback, a surprise landing, this giant like jumbo jet lands in the outback. This young boy who eventually gets played by Colin Friels when he grows up, he comes out to see it, and the actual Miles Davis comes off the plane and starts playing music, and he's enraptured. It changes his entire life, and he basically becomes chasing that dream from there. I think another reason I really want to recommend it to you,
What year
because
was it?
this is 91, I think, early 90s, 91.
Okay.
Reason I want to recommend it to you, because I know with like your story as well, you're from Australia, and very early in your career, you go to the States. And I think when I hear about that, when I think about that, there's something that's like this Australian feeling for Australian creatives, like have these big dreams. Sometimes it feels like you're stuck on the other side or the wrong side of the world of where your dreams are.
Right.
I think this is the movie that captures that in its really pure sense.
Excellent.
Really pure sense. So
Excellent.
hopefully that resonates with you as well.
I haven't seen it yet, and I feel like I've seen it.
Wow, that's my power, dude.
It
That's
is.
what I can do is like, I've got the movie in my heart. Let me put it in your one, dude.
Yeah. We
So-
don't even need the stone.
The stone is out of the picture.
See?
You know what? I think I was the stone all along. Wow. Mind blown and heartbroken. We did it all in one go. Well, Keith Urban,
Amazing.
thank you so much for jumping in the freaking last video store with me.
My pleasure, Alex. It's been great.
And it's my privilege. Your pleasure, my privilege, together with a two-piece. Two peas in a pod. I hated saying that, but we're going to leave it at the end. I hated saying that in front of you. But you're not going home empty-handed. You're taking home...
Dingo.
You're taking home BMX Bandits. You're taking home The
Yep.
Castle. You're
Yep.
going to take a bunch of other freaking Brian Trenchard Smith movies. We'll
Yep.
chuck in The Man from Hong Kong for you. Last Waltz, you can take that too if you want.
Great.
We'll take them
Yep.
all. And Kills of the Flower Moon, one of the best films in the last few years. Thank you so much
My pleasure.
for joining me in there.
My pleasure. I'll be back again. I'll bring the wife next time.
Oh, thank you. Please do. And you do have to come back in 1 week to return these. Otherwise,
Ooh, okay.
we'll be sending those late fines out the freaking wazoo at you, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Thank
man.
you.
The last video store.
Thank you for checking out The Last Video Store with me, your host, Alexi Toliopoulos. Please subscribe, follow, share the podcast amongst your friends as well. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, Last Video Store Batuta. So check us out and share us in all of those places. And if you want your own bespoke customized recommendation from me, you can submit an online order at any of those places, in a comment, in a 5-star review, with your weeklies and your new release pick, and I will come to you like I did at the top of this episode and give you a recommendation based on your taste. So thank you very much. Love you, love movies.